Going on, everybody? It's JetsCentral coming back with episode 5 of my free agency preview series, and in this one we're going to be talking about former defensive end from the New England Patriots, Trey Flowers, right? The former 4th round pick out of Arkansas, 6'2", 265. But before I get into the pros and the cons and if the Jets should go out and make a push to sign this guy come March 13th, I just want to make a quick little point. So yesterday the Patriots decided not to tag Flowers. Okay, they're not going to tag Flowers. And when I saw that report, I was stunned. I was shocked. I thought that was pretty much like a lock. And so did everybody else, because you look at the Patriots cap situation, I believe they have $20 to $25 million in cap flexibility. I look at Flowers coming off his best season of his career. He's only 25 years old. He had an absolutely dominant 2018 postseason. He was a pivotal part of that Patriots defense, whether it's deep in the playoffs or in the Super Bowl. He was tremendous. Okay, he played tremendous football. It's funny, I was talking to a few Patriots fans last night, and they were absolutely pissed that this news came out. They want Flowers back. They want him back desperately. Now, with that being said, I do feel like there's going to be a huge market available for Flowers. I look at 3 teams as the favorites to sign this guy. Number 1, the New York Jets, not saying it from a biased point of view, but just looking at it from a logical point of view. We desperately need defensive end help, and we have the money to pay him. Number 2, the Detroit Lions, they need edge help. They might lose Ansah, and they obviously have the Matt Patricia connection there. And then the Miami Dolphins as well. Brian Flores, O'Shea, they're coming down from New England to Miami. They need defensive help desperately, or more so defensive talent. They have the money to pay him. They're losing Cameron Wake. So those are really the 3 teams that I would say to keep your eye on. Also the Tennessee Titans as well, but I feel like they're on the back burner. So that being said, let's get into it. Pros, cons, and let's talk about some Trey Flowers. So first pro I want to get into, versatility, right? This guy's a versatile defensive lineman. He's labeled as an edge rusher, but I don't really see him as a traditional one-trick pony speed guy. I mean, this guy is a powerful, strong defensive end who can line up against tackles. He can line up against guards. This guy can do it all. He's a very versatile player, and it's just such a luxury for a defensive coordinator or defensive-minded head coach to have a chess piece on the defensive line, right? Or on the defensive front 7 if you have one of those versatile linebackers. Or even if you're talking about in the secondary, you have a guy like Tyrann Mathieu cover tight ends, running backs, slot receivers, what have you. But in this case, it's Trey Flowers, and he's just a versatile guy. When you could have a guy come off the edge, when you could have a guy line up against tackles, guys, he could play in multiple different schemes. He could line up against guards. He's just versatile, right? So you can assign him a lot of his tasks, and he could check a lot of different boxes, and he could do a lot of the things that are going to be asked of him by new defensive coordinators, new defensive head coaches and stuff like that. So Flowers, he's a versatile player that's going to help his market tremendously. So point number 2, he's young. He's 25, and I know I touched on it earlier. He's entering his prime now. Okay, he's going to be 26 by the time next season kicks off. And he's coming off his best season of his career. He's gotten better every single year he's played, right? And he was a 4th round pick out of Arkansas, but I remember he was pretty highly regarded coming out of Arkansas. And to see him fall all the way to the 4th round, I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, he should have been a top 10 pick. I'm not going to sit there and say that, but as a 4th round guy, for him to get better each and every season for the Patriots, working his way up to one of the best. Yeah, I would say definitely a top 3 player on that Patriots defense, maybe next to Hightower, Gilmore. That's pretty encouraging. Okay, if you're the New York Jets, if you're the Lions, Dolphins, whatever, Titans, you're looking at Flowers saying to yourself, this guy gets better every year. He is not even in his prime yet. He's only 25. He's going into his prime, and every year his numbers are going up. This is pretty intriguing. Okay, that's really enticing, because if the trend keeps, if the graph keeps trending up, you could be getting yourself a steal. Okay, you could be getting yourself an absolute steal if he keeps on getting better, if he keeps on getting stronger, and if he keeps on learning more about the game. So he's versatile. He's a young player, huge upside still, and he's getting better each and every year. Number 3, I mean. Great run stuffer. Okay, that's probably his best trait in my opinion. I mean, yes, He can get after the passer. Yes, he does get in the backfield and just wreak havoc on quarterbacks. In the sacks column, he's not really there. It's only 7.5 sacks, which we're going to touch on in a second. But he does, just because he doesn't have a lot of sacks doesn't mean he's not getting after the quarterback. But when I think of Trey Flowers, I think of him as a run-stuffing, run-stopping defensive end, a guy who has a really good closing speed. And it's funny, too, because when you watch, for the Patriots fans out there, when the Patriots fans watch watch opposing offenses try to run the ball on the outside against the Patriots, it's they're enjoying it. Okay, it's a pretty awesome sight because Trey Flowers can stop the run tremendously. I mean, this guy is an absolute monster. When you're running the ball to the outside, you have no chance. Flowers is an absolute stud at stopping the run, especially to the outside. I mean, just think back. Chiefs couldn't run the ball. Chargers could not run the ball. LA Rams could not run the ball, especially to the outside, and this was when he was at his best, at his peak, his dominant 2018 postseason. So you look at Flowers, there's so much to work with. He's a versatile player with a huge upside coming off his best season of his career. He has production. He can stop the run at an elite level, and there's just a lot to work with, okay? But there's two sides to every coin, and there are some cons. Number one, he's not a traditional speed edge rusher, right? And I know I said it, I kind of spun it in a positive light before, saying that he's not really like a Vic Beasley where he's just like, he could really bend left tackles and just constantly just wreak havoc like a Von Miller, like that style of pass rusher where you have speed in your back pocket, where you can just consistently burn tackles. He's not really that guy, okay? So and that's really what the Jets need. That's what the Jets have been lacking for really years. I mean, we haven't really had that true edge rusher off the end in quite some time. So Flowers doesn't really fill that role from a traditional sack artist, right? He's not really like former Jet, like a Mark Gastineau or anything like that, where he just bends tackles and he's just a bully off the edge. He's not really that guy. He's not a speed rusher. So I guess you could kind of say it's a good thing, but at the same time, that's what the Jets desperately need. But of course, you could fill that in other roles, possibly free agency, maybe even the draft. We're sitting there at 3, so maybe a Nick Bosa falls to us, maybe a Josh Allen falls to us as well. So it's not the end of the world, but it's definitely a red flag to bring up as far as the Jets' point of view. Okay. Because the Jets, we desperately need a traditional true edge rusher. Number 2, he's only had last season he's coming off his best season of his career, but he only had 7.5 sacks. When I think of the New York Jets, I think of a team that cannot get after the passer at all. And if we sign Trey Flowers to a mega deal, which is something that he's going to command, I would say somewhere around 4 to 5 years, anywhere from $70 million to $85 million. $85 million pretty much being at the top end of it. That's what I would assume the Jets or the Dolphins would have to pay him, whereas the Lions would probably be more to like 78, 80 million. That's a lot of money for a guy who's not getting after who's not recording double-digit sacks. Okay, 7.5 sacks is it's a decent number, right? That's pretty solid year as far as sacks go, but if that's your number one sack artist, right, if you're counting on Flowers to get after the passer each and every Sunday, consistently, effectively, time efficiently, $85 million for 7.5 sacks is not that good. Okay, it's not that good. On his rookie deal, that's amazing, but for $70, $85 million, that's not that good. That number needs to go up if he's the true number one edge rusher. So if we're going to be paying this guy as the number one guy, and we're pretty much solidified at it, then it might be, we just have to be careful with that. But if we pair him up next to like a Ziggy Ansah, maybe a Cameron Wake or something like that, then it's more understandable because you're not really focused on Flowers. You're not telling Flowers, hey, we need you to get 14.5 sacks every year. So the pressure kind of alleviates. But in any case, those are really the two biggest red flags when I see Flowers. I do think the Jets should pursue Flowers. I really do. Because not only are you getting talented at the position, you're getting a guy who's young and whose best football is ahead of him, but you're also taking a critical piece from the team's biggest rival, the Patriots, away from them, and you're bolstering your own team. So I think that's huge. I think that's underrated, and you see it all the time in other sports. I mean, hell, Manny Machado just signed a 10-year deal with the Padres. You're taking him away from the LA Dodgers, and you're putting him on a new team inside the division, NL West, Padres, Dodgers, what have you. Crazy stuff to think about. I personally want Trey Flowers, but I feel like I say I want all these different free agents, and I know it's not that realistic for me, for the Jets to sign whatever 10, 12 players, 10, 12 maximum players. But if the Jets were to go out and sign Flowers to, a reasonable or a realistic deal, 5 years, $81 million, $82 million. It's a lot of money, but I have to say I'd be pumped up because there's a lot to work with. Okay, versatile. I already touched on all the points. Versatile, young, best football ahead of him, coming off his best season. So a lot to work with. I like Trey Flowers. I cannot wait to hear your thoughts down below in the comment section regarding Flowers and the Jets. So yeah, let me know, and thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.